Hello, this is a short presentation on the rubrics that are going to be used in grading your papers. The purpose is, of course, to help you understand what the requirements are and the standards that are being applied so that when you receive a particular grade on your paper, you can look into more detail about why that grade was received. This should also help you in writing your papers to know what needs to be included at what level to achieve the best grade you possibly can. Start off by going to the grade book. We're going to be looking at a demonstration student, so your grade book and your screen should look pretty much like what I'm showing you here. Once you've gotten into the grade book, of course, then you're looking for the assignment that you're interested in reviewing, and once you find it, then you push the View Rubric. Now, this is the first set of criteria that will be used in the grading, and as you can see, there's a sample paper that I've used just to indicate how it's going to look, the scores that will be recorded, and the feedback where that occurs. So the rubric for papers is quite a bit longer than that for discussion, and I'd like to just spend a little bit of time talking about the main categories, the first one being clarity of introduction. Every paper you write should have an introduction. The particular paper that I'm looking at here had a good introduction. It met the level of there was an introduction, the student introduced some of the topic and tells the reader a bit of what to expect. Now, it wasn't considered complete or adequate to reach the excellent level, and it met the middle of the good category. It got a 4.25 in a range of 4 to 4.45. And my feedback on this particular item was that the introduction needed more explanation. The second category is application of theory. Here the paper reached a satisfactory level with a score of 7.6, and the response was this was mostly opinion, not research. The requirement was that the student apply theory and research to the topic that's being discussed in the paper, and that was not done at a very good level. Satisfactory, there was some, but there wasn't enough. Third category, relevance, is what's written in the paper relevant to the subject matter, or is it wandering around? Then we move on to the next set of categories. Here we're looking with regard to the references that are being used. Are there scholarly references? Are they being used appropriately? Does the reference list note all the references that were used is in APA format? Are your in-text citations and paraphrasing done correctly? And finally, the category on this screen is critical thinking. Is the thinking at a higher level, or are you simply cutting and pasting from other people's ideas? Are you analyzing and showing creativity with regards to your thinking about the subject? And finally, the mechanics, spelling, grammar, punctuation, and so on. In this particular case, the the paper got a good ranking with 4.25, and as you can see, Bart can spell Alberto. The feedback on the total paper was that there were no late penalties, and consequently the paper will get the full score of 80 that was totaled up from the various levels, the criterion, and the levels that were given, points that were given for each of those. Just to review late policies, the paper that I was reviewing did not have any issues with this, but if your paper comes in late after the deadline, up to 1 week late, it's 10% off. 1 to 2 weeks late, 20%. 2 to 3 weeks, 30%, and so on. So for an example, if the paper that we just looked at got a 90 and it was turned in after the deadline on Sunday, say it was turned in on the following Wednesday, it would have lost 10%. 10% of 90 was 9. 9 minus 90 is 81. If you want to then review the rest of the paper, you simply push on the button that says Taxonomy Safe Assignment, and then you can download the paper that I've graded with the requirements in it. And of course, this will give you another level of detail as to what I liked and what I didn't like about the paper. But I think the rubric will be a huge improvement as to an overall look at the quality in the different categories. The keys to success. Of course, be familiar with the rubric. These identify the areas that your paper is being judged in. So before you turn something in, go down the list and look at it like a checklist. Does my paper have this? Does it have this? Does it have this? And then also, at what level does my paper achieve? Is it an excellent level? Is it a good level? And so on. Also, review the graded papers that come back. I spend quite a bit of time with the individual papers trying to identify areas that I thought were well done and areas that I thought could use some improvement. If you're unsure of what's actually required, if you think that some of the areas on the rubric are confusing or not clear, that's a good area of conversation. This is a new concept that we're using here, and some of the things are going to be maybe not quite as clear as they should, but that's a good topic of conversation for you and your instructor. Get your papers in on time. Obviously, you can lose a lot of what you've put your hard work into just by simply missing a deadline or coming in a week late. Try to improve with each paper. So a lot of what we're doing here is trying to say, well, this was fine for now, but each paper should get a little bit better. So you should be aware of when I'm making comments or when I'm pointing things out, that the whole point is for you to use those as constructive criticism, and the next time around try to improve in those particular areas. All right, good luck with it. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me.